Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is information about theme, how to analyze theme in literature, what theme is, and the steps by which you can analyze theme. Theme is one of my favorite elements of literature to analyze because, again, just like tone and mood, it is not literally right there. You have to figure it out based on what happens. I have up here at the top, topic or subject plus insight equals theme. And that's the general idea. So I'm going to open up this theme information sheet. I have it here. So what theme is, it's the central underlying controlling idea or insight of a work of literature, the idea the writer wishes to convey about the subject, the writer's view of the world, or a revelation about human nature. So writers generally don't sit down and think, oh, I just really want to write today, or just randomly write things. They, overall, in general, good writers, have a message that they want to share with the audience. They want the reader to learn something about friendship, or love, or relationships, or obstacles, or perseverance, or appearances through their work. So this isn't necessarily a moral. They're not trying to make you specifically change what you're doing, but they have something that they want to share, something that they think about the world, about life, that they want to share with others. So the theme is not expressed in a single word because, again, it is a message. If you got a message from your mom that just said, room, you would be confused because that's a single word. It's not a message. You would say, what about my room, Mom? You're surprised by how beautiful it is? So it's more than just a word. It's not just the purpose. It's not to entertain or to persuade you or to inform you. It's deeper than that. And again, I said this before, but it's not always a moral. It can be a moral, but morals are more in like fairy tales and children's stories. In longer works of fiction, like short stories or long novels, it's more complicated. So it's not telling you to change what you're doing right now, but it has some sort of message about the topic. And it's not the conflict. You can tell what the theme is sometimes through the conflict, but it's not synonymous. So how to go about identifying the theme? This is very similar to what we did with tone and mood, because that's analysis, this is analysis. And you can analyze characterization or figurative language also in this way. But today we're talking about theme. So first, to analyze theme, you have to summarize the plot. You need to know what happens in the story. You need to know the story and understand it, be able to tell someone else what happened. Otherwise, you can't analyze the work if you don't even know. So be able to summarize the plot. Number 2, identify the subject. So what is the story about? That's not always the same thing as the plot. It's related to the plot. But, you know, what's the author talking about in this story? So I can do an example. In The Landlady, you know, I've summarized it before, but Billy Weaver travels to London looking for a bed and breakfast. He stays at this bed and breakfast by an old lady in an old lady's house. And then throughout the story, you know, he notices things about the house, about the stuffed animals that are there, the taxidermy animals, about the 2 missing boys, he would be the third. The 2 missing boys, who their names are both in the guest book. She talks about skin, how she likes, you know, clear skin just like a baby, she says. And then at the end, as he's drinking his strangely tasting tea, you know, she kind of creepily smiles at him, says, you're the next one, you're the only one. So you are inferring that she has killed and stuffed him at the end of the story. Okay, so that's just what happens. Then some subjects of this work. What is the story about? It talks a lot about appearance versus reality, how things look like versus how they really are. So The Landlady, I can type this up for you if you want me to. Not that. So the landlady herself looks like a meek old lady, right? So I'm going to go down to analysis paragraph. So I'm just brainstorming right now. Alright, so subject of the landlady. Appearance versus reality. So the lady looks, you know, non-threatening. So we find out that she is. The house looks very comfortable, and yet Billy is killed there, so he's not comfortable at the end. The bed and breakfast, the inn, I guess they call it. No, I think they call it a bed and breakfast itself appears welcoming to him, but it's not, again. So appearance versus reality, that's a subject though. Remember, that's not a message, that's just a thing. It's a topic. You could also talk about youthful innocence or naivety. Because Billy doesn't catch on about what is happening for a long time. So he's portrayed, characterized as a very innocent character. He just goes along with what she says, follows along with it, believes her. He's very naive. And again, that's a subject, not a theme. So let's go back to our theme sheet. So identified 2 possible subjects. Number 3, identify the insight or truth that was learned about that subject. So how did the protagonist change? What lesson did the protagonist learn through the conflict? You could look at how are the characters reacting to each other. At the end of the story, who ends up happy or not and why. So let's go back to our rough draft. So the insight. What could we say about those things? We could say that, you know, in The Landlady by Roald Dahl, the author portrays the discrepancies between appearance and reality through the characterization of the old lady and the word choice throughout the story. So our theme could be the discrepancy between appearance and reality. We could instead say the author demonstrates the, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like the issues with equating, making them equal, appearance and reality. You could say he embodies how appearance and reality are, you know, not always the same thing, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Or else, our second one could be In the Landlady by Roald Dahl. The author warns the reader against youthful innocence or naivety through the characterization and resolution of the protagonist, Billy Weaver. Now notice how I'm using protagonist, I'm using characterization. So these are other literary terms we've discussed, so you can use other things that we have already learned about to analyze theme. Warning the reader against naivety. You could say the author demonstrates the fatality of youthful innocence. I mean, you could argue whatever you can come up with. Alright, so identify the insider truth. We did that. And there are others, you know, there's not just one theme of a story. There are many messages you can glean. Next, state how the plot presents the primary insight or truth. So I just did that through the characterization, through the landlady herself, through the word choice, and then write one or more generalized declarative sentences that state what was learned and how it was learned. So, again, I already did that, I'm sorry. I did it. So, if we were to choose this statement, that's our thesis, our claim. So I need to put theme in here. In The Landlady by Roald Dahl, the author demonstrates the theme that that appearance and reality can be drastically different. That's another way you could say that. There's an infinite amount of ways. The appearance and reality can be drastically different through the characterization of the old lady and the word choice throughout the story. So I set up 2 examples. So my first example would be the characterization of the old lady, and I would explain it. And my second example would be the word choice. I would probably talk about the setting, the descriptions of the house, and explain that. So that's just one way, using the landlady, that you can analyze theme. So finally, when you're done, you can check it. Is your theme statement, is your message supported by evidence from the work throughout the story? Are all of the author's choices of plot, character, conflict, tone controlled by this theme? So does the tone, the author's attitude or the narrator's attitude, support what you're saying? You know, if you have a very happy-go-lucky theme, but the tone throughout is very sinister, how did that come to be? What are you basing that theme off of then? So you can check your work. But to reiterate, theme is the topic or subject of the work plus the insight that you as the reader learn throughout the story from the character's word choice, tone, figurative language, conflict, everything that happens. All of that together is a theme, or the message, the author's message. This is also called universal significance, because the theme is not specific to the story. We learn it from the story, but it's just, you know, an insight about life. Like, appearance does not always equate to reality. That's just true in our lives. Like, when we go through choices in life, you can look at something, a house or a college or a person, and the way they appear is not always the way they actually are. That's just true about life. So it's in The Landlady, but it's in other things. Underneath that handout, I have common topics in literature. Again, topics, not themes. But these are common things that authors like to talk about, common topics. You can read through them, but like identity, fairness, devotion, rebellion, perseverance, conflict, transitions, sacrifice. So the author would say something about this, like down here, appearance versus reality. I said that's The Landlady. Overcoming internal struggles, loyalty. But you'd have to figure out, what is the author saying about loyalty? What is the author saying about courage, about consequences, about abuse? And that is learned through the story, through reading the story. So I hope you have a better idea of what theme is, how to analyze it, the steps to go through to write a theme statement, a thesis statement, or argument about the theme of the story. And always remember that as long as you can support your theme, as long as it includes a topic plus insight from the story, something that is learned, then you're not going to be wrong. As long as you can support it and explain it, you're not going to be wrong. If you have questions, come see me. Otherwise, please keep working on your short story project and keep analyzing theme.